Welcome to Consultier Inc. and Interlink IQ. To conduct a document review utilizing the Personnel Welfare Program under the SQF Module 11.3.1, first check if the document title matches the uploaded file name on the dashboard. In this instance, we do have the same titles as the Personnel Welfare Program. Next, both must have the same document code. For this example, we do have 11.3.1P0. Since this is a template, we indicate the PCQI as the account initials. However, we can customize the code based on the company's initials. For the page number, we use the page XFY format. Ensure that it reflects the current page position and the total page number of the document. Then insert the company logo here, together with the company name, the company address, and enter the designated department. For the originated by section, it can be the food safety, quality assurance, or the quality control personnel of the company. The originator ensures the implementation of the quality management and document control system. Enter the name of the originator, affix the signature, input the position title, and the date originated. For the reviewed by section, it can be the personnel assigned in the Quality Management Department who reviews the drafted document or its revision for accuracy and implementation. Enter the name of the reviewer, affix the signature, input the position title, and the date reviewed. For the approved by section, it must be the person in the C-level management who has approval authority. Enter the name of the approver, affix the signature, input the position title, and the date approved. The revision date is the same as the date originated or drafted by the author. For the effective date, it is the date the document was signed and approved. The publication date is when the document is published for distribution and initiated personnel training. The implementation date is when the document is distributed and personnel training is completed. For the supersedes, put original for the initial issuance of the document. For any revisions, reflect the initial revision date before the current revision. Please be reminded that this section must be properly filled out to be compliant. Now we will focus on the components of the program. First is purpose. The purpose is the implementation of any certification standard or compliance with a regulatory requirement. For this program, it is for implementation with the SQF Module 11 Edition 9 for food manufacturing under Class 11.3.1. First, to implement SQF 11.3.1.1, personnel who are known to be carriers of infectious diseases that present a health risk to others through the packing or storage processes shall not engage in the processing or packing of food or enter storage areas where food is exposed. Second, to implement SQF 11.3.1.2, the site shall have measures in place to prevent contact of materials, ingredients, food packaging, food, or food contact surfaces from any bodily fluids, open wounds, coughing, sneezing, spitting, or any other means. In the event of an injury that causes the spillage of bodily fluid, a properly trained staff member shall ensure that all affected areas, including handling and processing areas, have been adequately cleaned, and that all materials and products have been quarantined and or disposed of. And third, to implement SQF 11.3.1.3, personnel with exposed cuts, sores, or lesions shall not engage in handling or processing exposed products or handling primary packaging or touching food contact surfaces. Minor cuts or abrasions on exposed parts of the body shall be covered with a colored, metal-detectable bandage or an alternative suitable waterproof and colored dressing. The second component of the program is scope. The scope of the program is based on the purpose and serves as a guide in defining and describing the layout of the procedure. It includes injury and illness, personnel cleanliness, personnel behavior, visitors, and frequency. The third component of the program is policy. The policies are the rules set by the company as their implementation guide. First, any person who, by medical examination or supervisory observation, is shown to have or appears to have an illness, open lesion, including boils, sores, or infected wounds, or any other abnormal source of microbial contamination are excluded from any operations. Second, company choices for clothing, including uniforms, gloves, hairnets, snoods, and footwear, were based on risk analysis and reviewed at the initial desk audit. Third, the application of the jewelry policy was based on the risk to the product and exposure to the product. In high-risk processes or those where the product is exposed, company policies require the removal of all jewelry and loose objects before entering the processing areas. Fourth, the company has specific good hygiene practices for visitors, contractors, and tours. Have the means to communicate those expectations to visitors, contractors, and tours, and monitor visitors, contractors, and tours to ensure all visitors comply with the company's good hygiene practices. Fourth is procedure. The procedure is the step-by-step process and the actual implementation of the policy. Under procedure, first is injury and illness. 1. Conditions that should be reported to management so that possible exclusion from food handling can be considered include jaundice, diarrhea, vomiting, fever, skin lesions, and discharges from the ear, eye, or nose. Second, food handlers with exposed cuts, sores, or lesions are not permitted to handle products unless suitable protective coverings are applied. These coverings were monitored regularly by responsible personnel to ensure they remain effective. Bandages are to be brightly colored to ensure they can be easily seen and include a metal strip for ease of detection if the site uses metal detection. And dressings on hands and fingers are required to be covered with a suitable glove. Third, all personnel, employees, contractors, and visitors at the premises are required to declare that to the best of their knowledge, he and or she does not suffer from communicable diseases or allergy that could adversely affect the company's operations. They agree that he or she is willing to be medically examined and also inoculated against hepatitis A upon the company's request, should they wish to continue to perform job duties for the company. The company maintains a declaration form signed by each new employee on file. Fourth, medical screening of staff and contractors are undertaken to detect carriers of infectious diseases. Staff identified as carriers of infectious diseases are not permitted to handle raw materials, work in progress, or finished products. Fifth, any injury to staff or visitors is recorded within the premises by the manager or the reporting staff member. If a person has been injured, the need for first aid is assessed and action taken as appropriate. The incident is deemed notifiable and reported if it resulted in the death of a person requiring medical treatment within 48 hours of exposure to the substance, a person requiring immediate treatment as an inpatient, a person requiring immediate treatment for the amputation of any body part, a serious head injury, a serious eye injury, degloving or scalping, electric shock, a spinal injury, the loss of a bodily function, and serious lacerations. Seventh, any person who has, by medical examination or supervisory observation, an illness or medical condition such as open lesions or wounds that could be a possible source of microbial contamination is removed from the manufacturing operation. The manufacturing operation includes, but is not limited to, raw materials, in-process materials, packaging components, and finished products. And eighth, a written release from a qualified medical practitioner indicating that the affected person will not jeopardize the safety or the quality of the product is submitted and approved by a supervisor before the individual may return to work. Second, under procedure, is infectious disease. Transmitted either by inhalation of infectious particles or droplets or direct contact of the particles or droplets with mucous membranes in the respiratory tract or eyes. Infectious diseases may include the novel coronavirus or COVID-19, MERS, SARS, Ebola, anthrax, pandemic flu, and other known diseases. Third, under procedure, is personal cleanliness. Employees, contractors, and visitors have clean hands upon entering food handling or processing areas, after each visit to a toilet, after using a handkerchief, after smoking, eating, or drinking, and after handling wash-down hoses, dropped the product, or contaminated material. Hand wash stations are correctly equipped and available at convenient locations for use. Next is personal behavior. Smoking, eating, chewing, and drinking are not permitted in production areas. Risk analysis for drinking water is conducted and controls are developed by the site to minimize the risk to the safety of the product if it is provided in a production area. If water is consumed in the processing area, it is recommended that employees wash hands before returning to their station, or at a minimum, hand sanitizer are applied before returning to their workstation, if permitted by regulation. Fifth is visitors. Visitors to food manufacturing, processing, or handling areas mean anyone who has access to the facility and may come into contact with exposed product or food contact surfaces, but is not normally employed at the site. Visitors may include contractors, management, inspectors, transport drivers, and/or sales personnel. All visitors wear appropriate, wear protective clothing, and adhere to the other personal hygiene provisions covered in the SQF fundamentals. All visitors were authorized before accessing the site. Hand wash basins and hand drying. Hand wash basins were provided close to pedestrian entry points at each area of the site, with instructions for all staff, contractors, and visitors to wash hands immediately before entering the processing area. Additional hand basins are required where hands could become contaminated before working with the product. Hand sanitizers for low-risk processes are optional. Where alternative methods of hand drying are preferred, their use was justified and their effectiveness validated, which may refer to SQF Fundamentals Element 2.4.2.1. Lastly, under procedure is frequency. Under daily, for the reception area or lobby personnel, distribute and collect signatures from all incoming personnel, such as employees, visitors, and contractors. For the receiving area personnel, distribute and collect signatures from all personnel, such as employees, visitors, contractors, and delivery personnel. Under weekly, for the quality department, collect all signed documents, and secure all signed documents at the quality office. Under quarterly and annually, for the quality or compliance, verify if the policy is being adhered to and followed. And under annually, quality personnel performs personnel training or retraining, and training of all personnel on this procedure was performed annually. Next, we have responsibility. The responsibility of the person is indicated. It covers what to perform to comply with the procedure or the policy. The supervisory personnel or department heads and team leaders are responsible for observing their staff for compliance with this procedure. And all personnel, employees, contractors, and visitors are responsible to report to management. Their supervisor or team member escorts any open source, boils, wounds, or any other possible source of microbial contamination. Sixth is corrective action. The corrective action is the process of taking appropriate steps to eliminate causes of nonconformities or other undesirable situations. First, Train all personnel on this policy and reference SSOPs. Second, removal of an employee from direct food contact to non-food contact activities when the employee reports potential illness. Non-compliance will require retraining or dismissal from job duties or termination of employment. Personnel that have minor injury or illness are acquiring fit to work and medical clearance or certificate from the professional healthcare provider, which you may refer to Health Declaration Form, Employee Time Off Request Form, Doctor's Written Release Form, and Supervisor's Return to Work Release Form. Seventh is review quality. The review section serves as guidelines for conducting the annual or periodic review. Medical screening and personnel hygiene policies and procedures are in place and are effectively implemented. Employees notify the business of illness. Personnel who are engaged in product handling and exhibit signs of illness are redeployed to low-risk areas. Personnel who are known to have been ill with an infectious illness are not involved in food processing. Personnel sores or cuts on hands are redeployed to low-risk areas or have cuts suitably bandaged and gloved. Bandages provided to staff are brightly covered and have a metal strip. There is no smoking, eating, or drinking in food product processing or handling areas. Next is reference documents. The reference documents are the set of documents used to implement and monitor a program, policy, or procedure. It includes the Health Declaration Form, the Employee Time Off Request Form, Doctor's Written Release Form, Supervisor's Return to Work Release Form, and Personnel Training Record. Ninth is references. The reference section is composed of guides utilized to implement the program. Examples are the Certification Guide, regulations, and other widely accepted scientific journals, research, and the like. It must comply with the standard format citation, which can be based on either MLA, APA, or Chicago style, and update the access date. Lastly, history. The history section is where we can update the program if there are any changes or revisions made in the document. If there is a revision, enter the revision number, followed by the revision date, the description of the change made, the name of the author or the originator, and the title or department of the author or the originator. Thank you for participating in this document review. Content presented are for training purposes only and are based on the interpretation of standards and best practices and must be customized for your intended use. To fully customize your programs, policies, procedures, forms for records, and lessons for training, you may contact Interlink IQ or Consultier Inc. at services@interlinkiq.com or simply call 202-982-3002. For free access, visit interlinkiq.com.